Welcome to the Lead Magnets Podcast, a show for business leaders who want clarity on their marketing direction to help them grow and scale their businesses to the next level. I'm Julie Nichols, owner of Julie Nichols Marketing.
And I'm Dan Gershenson of Caliber Brand Strategy and Content Marketing. We're two fractional chief marketing officers who lead marketing departments for small and medium-sized businesses who want to level the playing field and level up.
Today, we are talking about what's a fractional CMO and why do we do this? Dan, why do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves? What does this all mean? Tell me, what's a fractional CMO? What does that even mean?
Well, we do this because, we don't know how to do anything else. This is what we went to school for. But
I didn't go to school for it, so I don't know about you, but you did. I went to
you got all that drama. You're well suited. You got that drama background. We deal with a lot of drama every day. So, but yeah, fractional chief marketing officers are the real leaders of marketing departments when somebody says, well, I have a coordinator or a manager, or maybe I don't even have anybody, but it can often even be one marketing director, but that poor soul is just swamped beyond belief. And they have to deal with not only the day-to-day of trying to make marketing go for their company, but then also this sort of big picture of what do we do for this quarter, for this year, for these big goals that we've set out for ourselves. It's a lot for one person to handle, no matter what level they are. So we come in and we're that sort of dream sweet spot of a senior level person, a lot of good experience in many different industries, but we're sort of more than that freelance person in so many ways, but also a much more cost-effective choice than, say, an agency. And we're more nimble, usually, to be honest. So yeah, that's a little snapshot of that.
Yeah, and I think that that was a really good explanation of it. And you've used secret weapon before many times. I've written that down. Dan and I are old buds, and he has these little nuggets that I like to jot down now and then. And he likes to talk about how a fractional CMO is like that secret weapon for a business that just needs to get to the next level and have the big picture. Now, one thing I want to point out is that a lot of people know what a CMO is, but if you don't, it's a chief marketing officer. But what is a fractional? What does that mean? And literally fractional means part-time contractor as a chief marketing officer. So a fractional CMO is a really good option if your business is starting to build their C-suite and you really need someone to lead your marketing, but you really either don't have the budget to have a full-time CMO or you're kind of testing the waters. A fractional CMO is a really great option because you get that really high-level expertise and experience, and you know that you're going to be getting really good, trusted advice, but you're not paying, $200,000 a year for this person, plus benefits, plus all this stuff. We buy our own benefits, sadly. And we do this for not just your company, we do this for other companies as well. So that's really a nice benefit to going with a fractional CMO as opposed to a full-time permanent CMO. Can you just speak more to that, Dan?
Yeah. And a lot of our clients, they just don't necessarily need a 40-hour-a-week person. Besides the dollar amount savings, there's really not necessarily something where you need a high-level marketing person for more than 5 to 10 hours a week, let's say. And that kind of person, let's say it is 10 hours a week. Well, okay, would you rather pay for a week of somebody like that or for somebody who, is going to take up an entire month and be a lot more? So the challenges that you have, even though they may seem very, very large, and there are several of them, surprisingly are probably not, things that take 40 hours a week to work on, especially if we're really focused on what it is in front of us that's the top priority. And many companies, they don't necessarily know right away, like, okay, well, we also have to do this and this and this and this. Yeah, those are all important. But if we were to say this month what the number one is while sort of working on these other things, you don't need as many or to put as much of an investment in a full-time person as you might expect.
Yeah. And, some fractional CMOs prefer to just come into your company and work with the team that you already have. Like maybe you have a marketing assistant who's basically super swamped, or a marketing manager who's just like trying to do everything and can't really think about like the strategy part of it. They're basically just like trying to make sure that your Instagram doesn't fall apart. They're trying to make sure that your emails are delivering. And you really need that someone who's going to lead your team, and be someone that they can go to, and that the leaders, the business owner, the CEO can go to this fractional CMO and really get a better insight on what's what and what's going on in the business's marketing. Now, Dan, do you prefer working with in-house marketing departments, or do you like bringing in your own contractors?
Well, I like bringing in my own contractors most of the time. Which is not to say, hey, if you're a coordinator or marketing manager, your days are numbered. Don't worry, you're good. It's just
I don't want your job.
I'm not here to take anyone's job, that's for sure. I'm really there to say, okay, what is this person doing? If it's one person, and many times it is, what does that person definitely not only enjoy doing, but if they're already doing a very good job, such as social media, I'm not there to dislodge that person from what they're doing. There's more than enough things to do, all the way around, than to say, okay, well, you're not doing that anymore. Unless, there's a really big problem. I don't think we have to ever do that. It's more, okay, let's keep that person doing that and we'll collaborate. But then there's probably some other things that demand our attention, whether it's me doing it personally or bringing in somebody who's a little more senior level than, let's say, what they have on staff that's junior. So let me give you an example. Like if it's a content need for blogs, and for blogs, sometimes that really bleeds into SEO, or doing website pages. Sometimes that bleeds into SEO. So, okay, we've got a couple of things there that aren't being really well addressed. Let's talk about how maybe we can do that. Take that off your plate. But, to be honest, many times, even before any of that stuff, we will probably ask, do you have sort of a roadmap? Do you have a strategy, a brand strategy that is for, say, the next 6 months? And even if you've done one in the last year, when we come in, you're going to need to do one again, because it's just that important.
You're going to have to do it again.
Yeah, because, somebody goes, oh, well, we had somebody come in and do this thing, and I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm just like, did they talk to your employees, your clients, maybe your strategic partners? Then, okay, if they haven't done any of that, then that's something that we're going to need to do. And they probably didn't ask some of the questions that I want to ask either. So it's a total blank slate kind of thing. If they like the strategy, great. Then we can talk about what else might happen from here. But no matter what, it starts with that. You got to have the recipe before you can bake the cake. So that's where we kind of, you do the same thing, Julie. It's like, okay, well, what plan do we have in place? And many times the plan has been, well, we threw up some things against the wall. We heard TikTok was a good thing for us to do. And so, so we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. Probably because they just saw everybody else was doing some things and they thought, well, yeah, we should do that too. But they didn't really know why. And that's an issue. So you got to retake this. You got to take some steps back to go forward when you're doing that stuff.
I totally agree. And P.S. Our next episode is going to be just about that. It's going to be about why you don't need to be on every single social media channel and how to which ones to be on. So, so I feel like when it comes to being a fractional CMO, my favorite part of it is being able to give the business owners that like insight that can help them to not only figure out how we're going to tackle the problems that we're being faced with now, but how are we going to look long term? Like I really, and part of being a fractional CMO that's great is that you get embedded in the organization and you get to learn all about the business. You get to learn about what everybody does and you really become a part of the company. And then you're able to give that really targeted, specific advice for that specific business and in accordance with their business strategy to make sure that it's all in line. And a lot of people ask me, what's the difference between a fractional CMO and just a marketing strategist? So to me, like the difference is that a marketing strategist is typically not there for the long term. They're there to kind of come in and either tackle one specific area of marketing or one specific project. And then they may be on their merry way, or you might just not need them again until you have a next project. A fractional CMO really is big picture oriented and long-term growth oriented. Would you say that's?
Yeah. But, I think it's also, even then, there's going to be differences as far as what not only your budget, but sort of your timeline. So, I think people like you and me, we're kind of a little more like, hey, let's not drag out this strategy thing for months and months and then bombard you with paper, of like a 75 page or more PowerPoint of everything we learned and then say, see you later. There are a lot of other people that can do that. But, many times the folks that you and me deal with for this part are like, well, we just need some steps to go forward. And it can be done in a few weeks, really, once you understand their business. And again, this is just the first part of it. Mm-hmm. But I think the strategic part does not have to be this gigantic investment like your IBM or something. And you're just like, well, we have a strategic initiative we have to talk about over the next 6 months and spend, $100,000 or more. No, if you're dealing with a fractional CMO, many times in the strategy part, we're kind of like turning that around and giving you what you need to know, not everything under the sun that you could do. And so I think sometimes the strategists, come at me, strategists. I'm ready for you. They're so good at giving you like the 10 commandments of everything that we found and stacks of stuff and then see you later. But you don't need that many times when you are a small and medium-sized business owner as much as, a discovery, an intake, maybe a getting to know different people, different voices, and that can take some time. But it's like maybe 1 or 2 months tops that you would need to work with a fractional CMO for a strategic part. It really is. And then you can decide, okay, I like this. It makes sense. Do I want to go forward? Mm-hmm. The strategist doesn't know necessarily how to do that implementation part that follows. And I think that's a huge distinction is, the fractional CMO is I also tend to call it fractional CMO plus, because that is a part of things, the implementation piece that not everybody has. And if you are bringing in other people, that is also implementation. It doesn't have to be you personally doing it, as long as you are directing the people doing the implementation.
Yes, I often struggle with that. I want to do it all because I can, but
Yeah.
I maybe shouldn't. So that's part
It's a
of.
huge thing. It's
I
a
think
huge thing.
I think
Yeah.
I'm a little type A to a fault, and want to make sure that it's. But I don't have to create everything myself. That I say this to myself a lot, like you don't have to do it all yourself. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You can hire people that are better at you than this.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to bring in people who have where email marketing is all they do, and they
Yeah.
are an expert at it, because like I'm pretty dang good at email marketing, but like it's not all that I do all day every day. And
Yeah.
obviously like somebody that does that all day every day, like they're going to be better at it than me. And I need to be able to bring in that experience, bring in that email marketing expert, and be able to go through what they've created with my eye, knowing what it is I know about email marketing and all the work I've done in email marketing, be able to be like, okay, can we edit this? Can we da 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 that? Like, what's
Yeah.
your plan? Blah blah blah. So I think that's where, for me, all of the implementation work that I've done over the past like 13 plus years in small business marketing really brings it to me. Like it really kind of takes me to the next level as a fractional CMO, because I've been in the trenches and I've done it,
Yeah.
and I can tell what's garbage, and I can tell what is going to really hit people in their gut and is really going to make an impact. So I don't mean to brag, but I've been around the block, and that's what they say about me. And I want to make sure that people that I work with understand that, like, I have this really good general knowledge, but more than that, I've been in that seat and I've done it before. So yeah, how
Yeah.
do you feel about that?
Yeah. I think the part of the reason why this fractional CMO terminology, I think, has really taken off in, say, the last 2 or 3 years. I don't think it was something that I necessarily referred to myself as at all. Definitely not when I opened up this shop. I definitely was more. I would probably refer to myself as a writer or a strategist or something like that. Whatever was easiest for people to understand. I just kind of grabbed that, and I think, thank goodness for us, that this thing with the fractional stuff is starting to become a pretty commonplace thing to hear. And then when we hear fractional CMO, at least people are like, okay, well, I know that has something to do with marketing, but what is it exactly that you guys do? And then that can come into a discussion. But the whole education part of what that there is such a title of a person, I would like to think we're past that. I think now people have seen that enough. If you're not under a freaking rock by now, you should know what a fractional.
Rock, it's okay. We're
Yeah.
lifting the rock up for you to see.
Well, I can tell you right now, this is definitely going to be like, you are going to be the good cop to my bad cop. I can
At
already,
1,000%.
which is fine. I'm
I mean, those are the best combinations. I mean, that makes for a good story. You got to have
no, like but that is really the cool thing I think about, in all seriousness, with this title, is that you're not getting, hopefully, somebody who is just going to think about marketing. And I do think with some people who have been around, the cool thing is that you can have discussions that pertain to sales or pertain to overall business growth and things like that we never really, coming up in our lives, ever dealt with. We didn't even deal with strategy. Like, many times it was, okay, write some good headlines, write some good content that goes with these ads, without dating myself. But, that's really where we have been in the past. And now I think more than ever, the marketing department, again, whether you have a marketing department of 1 or 0, it's a function. And you really now, I think we're seeing people go, okay, how do we get these marketing voices to align with our voices in sales? And how do we not look like two completely different companies? How do we get these guys to talk to each other? How do we get them to be understanding what each other needs? And that's a hugely exciting thing for me.
Yeah.
So even though we have marketing in our title, the nice thing, the most gratifying thing that happens is when we're seen as business advisors who happen to do marketing.
Yeah. And I think that what you tapped in there also is it just came to me that that's another benefit of working with a fractional CMO is that we own our own businesses. We are owners, and we each have our own business coaches. So you work with a business coach, I work with a business coach. I'm constantly learning about sales and business strategy. So I can directly relate that to what I'm doing to help my clients to better their businesses. I'm able to give a much wider view than perhaps, if you were to hire a full-time CMO who's only ever been a CMO in businesses and has never been their own business owner. I think that's an important
distinction. I think you
to me, that was just my genius.
It's really important because then we see beyond the marketing part in many ways because of that. We are on more of a mission, us personally, you and me, I think, to help that small and medium-sized business owner because we have gone through some things. We've taken some hits in our lives and we know what it feels like. So, it hurts real bad. I've had pretty much everything, by the way, that could ever be done to me. That's a whole other show in itself. But if you've had these experiences and you've really gone through it all, you're kind of like, I don't want, if I can avoid this in any way for somebody else, I want to see how I can do that with what I know. And, and that is truthful. That is something that we always hear the word authenticity thrown around, but when you have lived through those things, good and bad, then you want people to never have to experience some of those bad things. And it is a part of your soul. It's part of your mission to see how you can not only avoid that, but then take them to a level that either you have been or even dreamed about going to. That's the really neat thing of how you internalize it. And I don't think everybody at all has that. And
I'm going to do a yes and because I come from the world of improv. I'm going to yes and you on that.
You do, yeah.
What I also love to do for my clients is to help them see all of the opportunities that they may have never even considered. Because while marketing activations, marketing initiatives are the bread and butter of what I do, I help them to look at what kind of networking are you doing? Are you connecting with brands? Are you going to trade shows? Have you considered influencer marketing? Have you considered this? Have you considered that? And a lot of times they're looking at me like, what? Like they didn't even know one of those things existed. And then I'm like, yes. Did you know you could be going to trade shows for your target audience and making meetings with these marketing directors and you could be making these connections in person. And they're like, tell me more. I love doing that so much, Dan. I feel like I have all the secrets and I'm like, yes, let me tell you how you can get even more. I don't even know what to call myself.
It is funny because the first time we met, I remember this, you were using a tool called Fathom, which is for recording. It's for recording Zoom, Google Meet, I believe, too. And and I had never seen it before. And I was like, what is this? What is this note-taking thing that's popping up on my screen? What is that stuff? And you told me all about it. And well, I happened to then mention it to a client, and it was like, oh my God. So it's not, I know it's not always about the tools, but the things that we are able to sometimes do, and bring up like the little things here and there to make them more productive or whatever have you. It's really something that when you have someone on that sort of, I don't want to say cutting edge, but when you're on that part of things where you're hearing that probably before any of your clients are, you're like this great extra resource that they would never otherwise know about these things. And
I can't wait to share all of the tips that I have. And we're getting close to the end, so we need to wrap this up and get ready. But I'm super, super pumped to share all of our little tidbits with all of you. And Dan, what do we want to say to finish up our first episode?
Well, I think even though we will both have some topics in mind that we think are going to be very good, useful, practical things for you to know about, our goal is to give you some takeaways that you can use today as a result of listening to us. So really 1 to 3 things that when we're done with these episodes, normally what we'll try to do is give you some things that you can use and really go from there. And so if there are questions, things that are bugging you, if you're looking at all these various things out there in the world swirling about with articles and YouTubes and things like that, it can be the most confusing time ever to be a marketer of any kind. We hope to sort of separate the fact from the fiction, and more importantly, how that can work well for you. So if you have a question, if you have something that's on your mind, email either of us, and who knows, maybe that'll be the feature of our next episode.
Ooh, I love it. They're giving us more content.
Bring it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening. Once again, this is the Lead Magnets podcast, and I'm Julie Nichols of Julie Nichols Marketing. You could reach me at julienichols.marketing.com.
And I am Dan Gershenson, Dan at High Caliber Branding, and you can pretty much reach me there. That'll be one of the best things to do. Talk to either of us. We love talking about this all day. And you will be surprised how long we can go on and on about it.
Oh yes, I'm cutting us off, and by next time I'll figure out my sign off. But for now, we'll just say have a fabulous day, everybody, and we'll see you later.